Hi, I'm Dean. Um, Reality can be a bit tricky when you start kind of tearing holes in your consciousness and kind of seeing through the veil. Um, so I'm going to tell you a bit of a story, which is pretty cool. It basically involves ending in a lucid dream. But this morning, um, I went for a walk on the grass out the back, and which was nice. It was a nice, warm, sunny day. I sat down on the grass on the bank and kind of lay on my back with my knees up and my feet touching the ground, and and I just kind of meditated and just lay there for a bit, absorbing the warmth and the sun through my eyelids, and kind of had my eyes open a little bit when it was not so bright. Um, then I got the impression that I should go and lay on my bed and kind of just have a bit of a semi-nap type of meditation. So obviously I went with the flow and got up again and walked across the grass back home, laid on the bed and started a bit of meditation. So I just lay on my back. But my mind was a little bit busy. There were two things on my mind, two separate topics, and I kept kind of going over them, and I was working with my breathing on slowing down my breathing, which was slowing down my thoughts, and it wasn't really working. Well, it kind of was, but it wasn't really. But I kept with it, you know. I didn't get frustrated or anything like that, and you know, I knew what I was thinking, and I knew that I was thinking things that I'd already thought before, so I didn't really need to be keeping on thinking them. Um, Long story short, there I ended up kind of just turning over and just going, oh, fuck it, I'll go to sleep now. I wasn't really tired actually, so I ended up just laying on my side and and kind of just let go of worrying about those things or thinking about those things. Um, Slowed down the breathing, and then I started hearing this crackling sound, and I'm very familiar with this crackling sound. I hear this crackling sound pretty much every day, really. It's popping, pop, pop, crackle, crackle. Um, just as you're kind of changing consciousness states, I suppose, or some say it's the pineal gland working or doing things or pulsing or what have you. But anyway, there's a cracking, popping sound, which is kind of freaky but pretty cool. Um, so as I do, I went with that, and I've been starting to do a meditation visualization of a Merkaba around my body, as well as a sphere. Usually my protection is a sphere around me, but I've been kind of doing a Merkaba around me as well within the sphere. So the sphere is on the outside. You can see where my hands went. We're going kind of like 2 meters each way of me, I guess, with the sphere, and then the Merkaba is kind of yay size. Um, so I did that, and I had this massive, massive hit of energy in my head and lower head, and then it completely encompassed my body hugely. It was really cool. Um, and with my breath, I was able to increase it with intention, and as I was breathing in, and I was still breathing quite slowly, very slowly, like very, very slowly. Um, I think your breath kind of goes at the same kind of rate as your brainwaves are. So if you're breathing in theta, your brain's kind of in theta, that type of thing. Which is not at the moment because I'm pretty excited. Um, so after that, let me just think for a little bit because it was all really fast. What happened then is I started to feel a really heavy weight on me, really heavy weight. And this was the weight of my blankets, and it felt like it was so heavy that there was something heavier than a person laying down on top of me or something. And I knew I was alone there, well, as alone as I normally am, in 3D anyway. And this weight was really heavy, and I went with it. You know, that's the thing, is keep going with it rather than trying to capture it or avoid it or go or make it happen. I just kept on breathing and allowing the energy to keep kind of pulsing. And so this started coming up my body, and I felt that this blanket, this heavy blanket, well, I did have a blanket on me, but it was very light. But this wasn't the blanket, this was a heaviness, a wave of heaviness, of density. And that went all the way over my body, and it completely covered my whole body. And after it covered my head, I felt my self, my awareness, my consciousness, not my body, I felt that traveling downward through my body, through the center. So I was moving down and out, basically through my feet, through that direction. And I was moving farther and farther away, like relatively quickly and quite some distance. And then I heard a song which I remembered from my childhood, which I can't remember now, but it was I think possibly one of the Disney songs or something, but I'd related that to my grandparents. And I kind of got the image of my granddad and my grandmother, and I was thinking of my granddad more at the time, and there was something like, in the song lyrics, it kind of moved to a message of, when you think of him, his face will appear, which seems a pretty cool message. Anyway, I had a bit of a moment there of just kind of just love for my granddad and my gran, and you know, how it was a little bit emotional and stuff, which was pretty cool. And then I kind of got startled a little bit by other music. There was other music which could have been in 3D here, could have been someone's car radio or something like that, because they do that. But anyway, I heard this music, and I was back in my room, in my bedroom there, and I got the impression that there was a dude leaving my house, like he was like passing through. He'd come from outside, kind of somehow gone through my, kind of like walked through my room and then out through the front door, which was where obviously a thing happened. But he didn't close the door properly, and I was like, shit, well, I'm gonna have to get up before I go back to this lucid dreaming out of body thing that I was doing. So and I knew that I didn't have any clothes on, so I got up and I went to close the front door, and I noticed that the door was hinging on the wrong side. I noticed that the door was, it left it open, but it was, I had to pull it from the different side that the door was normally closing. And I thought that was a bit fishy. The music had stopped, by the way. The music came quite vividly, and then it left. It was a more modern song, that one. and then I opened and closed another bedroom door, and then I started walking up the hallway, and I skipped past my bedroom. And as I was walking down the hallway, I was like, "Oh, dude, you're lucid dreaming at the moment. That's why it was all a bit different." And I was like, "Oh well, you know, what's the first thing you always do when you lucid dream?" And it's like, you got to try and fly. So I tried that, and I kind of launched myself up and down the hallway, kind of jumping horizontally, and um, and I landed face flat on the carpet, and kind of bashed the side of my face on the carpet, which was a bit dicky. But at the time, I noticed that my legs and feet had raised up. So even though my head seemed to have been obeying the laws of gravity in this dream, my feet sure weren't. So I was kind of upside down. Um, and then I was like, okay, so we've got to kind of have a bit of balance here and stuff. So I'd figured out this, and so I'd straightened myself up and been back in a kind of a standing position, like picked myself up off the floor, sort of thing. It was funny with the carpet on the side of the face. So again, I sort of, well, let's take this for a spin, see what else we can kind of examine. So I started. I floated down to, walked down, floated down to the power meter thing, and I was like, well, let's try and look through the door and see if I can see what the meter reading is behind the door, because you know you do that in lucid dreams. And so I did. I glanced through, and it was just like a hole appeared, and I saw the meter reading was 34348 or something like that. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, that was a bit of a given. That was pretty easy. And then I thought I'd try another door, so I went back down the hallway and I peered through another door, which isn't exactly where my doors are, by the way. But I was like, I'm gonna look through this door into the hot water cupboard. So I opened the door and banged my forehead on the thing, and I was like, oh, that was a bit silly, and it was wood, you know, of course. But I realized you got to actually kind of be a little bit more active with these things. So I kind of pressed my forehead against the door, and then I was able to kind of melt into it, melt through it, and that's when a small hole started appearing, and I had to open the door a little bit to let some light in, so my left hand was kind of opening the door, and then I was peering my head through it, and then I was able to see inside. So I saw the silver wrap and stuff around the hot water cylinder and the piping and that sort of thing, and then kind of sprang back out of that. And then I was like, okay, well, let's go and see if I can find my Dean again back in the bedroom. So I started cruising back down the hallway to go and have a peek in and see if I could see myself kind of still laying there. And apparently I'm not quite at a stage where I'm ready to see that yet. I've encountered this in previous experiences where I think the previous one I made a video about, I looked at the bed and the bed was empty, it was blank. The bed was there, but I don't actually have a bed, I sleep on the floor, but it was blank, it was empty, nobody in it. But at this time I went to look in the room, and then I started feeling physical senses again, and I started noticing my skin sensation and breathing, and I started basically coming back into my body. So I kind of started merging, and it took a really long time, this one, but I snapped back into my body, but my body was completely friggin' fucked. It was dead, gone, whatever, you know. It was not non non a part of me, but I'd noticed the breathing, and I kind of went with that for a little bit, and I noticed a little bit of the skin sensations as far as the blanket on me and that sort of thing. And I was like, well, obviously I'm waking up from this thing now, so just go with it again. So breathed my way through it, and I kind of did a count from 10 thing, and I kind of went through the numbers of 10 that I would be waking up more and more in my body, and more alive, I suppose might be a word. That's weird that I use dead and alive in that description. Interesting. But anyway, I managed to get back in my body and get my body sparked back into life, and after a wee bit, I was able to open my eyes and see that I was in my bedroom, and I thought I'd get up and make a quick video of that after getting dressed. So yeah, that was my experience. I just thought I'd share that with everybody. The message that I have really to teach is, when you slow down your thoughts, you slow down your breathing, you slow down your thoughts, and when your thoughts have slowed down and your breathing is slowed down, you can just harness your own energies. And when you hear that crackling sound, it's not in the ear, it's in the inner ear. When you hear that, keep going, and use your energy that you've got to kind of make a ball and enhance it a little bit, and give it the attention that it wants, and as I said, just go with it and see what happens, because it's shit cool fun, guys. It really is. It's really cool. Yeah, but yeah, use your protection, sphere and the Merkaba, if you're able to visualize a Merkaba. It's taken me a while to be able to visualize that, so just start with a sphere around you, a couple of meters around you, whatever color you like. Mine's kind of a silvery blue color. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.